Combat is a part of so many of our campaigns, and for a lot of people, it's difficult to do right. In this video today, we'll be discussing combat, the things that suck, and I'll give you guys my advice and tips and tricks in order to make your games as fun and as compelling as possible. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with all things Loki's Lair. Thanks. The big thing I hear is that D&D combat takes too long, and that players are waiting 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes for each of their turns. It's easy to shrug off this comment and put it down to the fact that your DM's not very good and maybe you should just get a better DM. But this isn't very useful to Dungeon Masters, and there is no real actionable advice for DMs, just for players, get a new DM. And that's kind of the main reason why we have this video today. Combat encounters are always going to vary in length, and this is going to be mainly based on the amount of moving parts you have. How many creatures are actually going to be involved in the encounter, and that's going to add additional consideration for the length of time it's going to take to finish this combat. So with all these tips today, sometimes you're just going to have encounters that do take a while, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour, maybe two, especially boss fights, right? When they've got mechanics and phases and minions and stuff like that. But hopefully these tips today are going to help you have it be a bit quicker, perhaps. I definitely don't want to deter Dungeon Masters, any of you guys out there, from having lots of monsters or creatures present in a fight, but I do think it's important to think quickly on your feet and make adjudicating the encounter as quick and efficient as you can for your players. Obviously you don't want to rush them, you don't want to rush yourself, but you just want to be efficient with the time that you're using. This way, the players are less likely to get bored and look at their phones or pick their fingernails, and you can keep the energy at the table high so that we can enjoy the game. Just have a good time. I think it's important to obviously make quick decisions with what your monsters do and roll the dice at an expedient rate. Don't just sit around and ponder time, waste time even. If you expect your players to be quick, then you should be quick. Know how your monsters work and consider what they're going to do during other people's turns. I personally love actually grouping up my monsters into groups, units or squads and having them share initiatives. I'm happy to see other DMs doing this as well, including my IRL DM Ross. Hello Ross, if you're out there. He's a newer DM, but he understands that giving each monster their own initiative is a bit unnecessary, and in my view it slows down play quite a bit when you're having to track so much shit. I'd actually go one further. In my games I actually have them in groups, and I usually have, for example, against spells that are like AoE spells like Fireball, I have them share a dex save. I have them share a saving throw, because it makes sense that if they're part of a unit, they're probably going to react quite similarly. I don't understand why one goblin out of 12 would survive. Maybe he's using all the other ones as shields. I don't know, it just wastes a lot of time. I don't want to sit and watch a Dungeon Master roll for 12 goblins. I'd rather they just do a couple of rolls, 1, 2, maybe 3 rolls for a big pack. Who knows, man? Keep it simple. You don't want to make a combat feel like a slog now, do you? I've also had some success of actually using group initiative for players. I did it in my last campaign, which really helped things be a bit quicker, especially when the players got to a higher level. They were level 7, 8, 9. That's when it was in 10. That was when it was really useful. At lower level, it isn't as bad, but especially in 5th edition, which is what I'm playing with for that group. 5e has a lot of stuff to it. So just having players work together, having them share an initiative, having different players roll initiative at different parts of the session or sessions is nice. So everybody still gets to roll initiative, they just don't do it at the same time. Like for this combat, the rogue's going to roll initiative, next combat, the fighter will. Sometimes you can base it on who's actually taking point, who's leading the party. If the wizard's urging the party forward, maybe they roll initiative. You know what I mean? The cool thing about it is that when you share an initiative, players are thinking of what they could do together, so they're actually strategizing and coordinating more. and you can really take advantage of that in your games. I've seen really cool moments where like all of the martial characters charge forward together and like slam into a group of got like I think it was like greenskins, a bunch of orcs, and just smash them all down. You can't really get that kind of epic gameplay in 5e without doing something like that, I guess, unless everybody just holds their actions. But when you hold an action, you only get to perform an action. You don't get to perform the movement or a bonus action. You know what I mean? So yeah. Anyway, moving on. I'm rumbling a little bit, aren't I? I want to discuss how Dungeon Masters actually run their encounters and the methodology. There we go. I was struggling with that. Methodology behind it. I hate how gamey a lot of DMs have become in so many groups. It feels like creatures don't really have any feelings, ideals, or any real identity or personality. They're just peons being thrown into a combat and expected to be killed for the players to kill them, right? And whilst I don't think we should be giving random monsters a lot of screen times and having them have backstories and stuff like that, I think self-preservation and some form of strategy is great for a game. You know, think like the monsters, right? There's some guy in, he's got a website, right? It's all about how the monsters think and be like the monsters. I love that kind of shit. That's fantastic, right? I think that goblins would work together. They would be in a pack. They would pick off weaker targets. They would try to slow down their heavily armored, big weapon people, right? The people who are a big threat. And I really want to actually discuss a recent one-shot I did on the channel. My group of adventurers were dying of thirst in the desert and came across a recently slain camel and a group of lizard men who were surrounding it. They couldn't really see too much from the distance that they were at, but as soon as they kind of spotted each other, the lizard men spotted them, they spotted the lizard men just ran away, only to attack once the party had actually approached the camel. The players actually realised near the end of the fight that the lizard men were only fighting because they had stole their camel, they had stole their kill, their meal. They didn't actually consider the fact that maybe the lizard men are hungry too. But I think some of the players just assumed that the lizard men wanted to fight because that's just the way things are. Lizard men see humans and dwarves and elves, and all they want to do is kill them. Which, I mean, in some instances might be true, especially if they're in war, if they're hostile to one another. But I just think that's a little bit impractical, and I think, yeah, like I said, very, very gamey. And, you know, the lizard men fought the players. After a couple of lizard men died, the others retreated. They realised it really wasn't worth dying for. And despite the fact that the lizard men obviously did get away, the encounter was quick, exciting, and dangerous enough that one player almost died from the encounter, and the players were able to gain some understanding, as well as a lizard man prisoner who they were able to extract information off, which I think really helped. Here's a video here if you guys want to watch it. I'll also post it in the description if you want to watch it like at the end of this video or whatever, if you still want to hear the rest of what I say. I've got some good stuff coming up, I promise. I also think this applies to player characters too. Encounters don't always need to be a fight, and I don't think they always need to be balanced. I like logical encounters. So if there's a camp of 30 orcs nearby, it's fair to say they're probably going to have some war parties, probably 5 to 10, maybe 5 to 8. I don't know, that might be too many orcs for your low-level group, but that sounds realistic to me. That might be too much for them to deal with, but your players should be going into combat expecting to win every single engagement. And every engagement shouldn't be an all-or-nothing situation, right? Where the players will all die, or they will be victorious. Like, that's just cringy, bro. And I think players need to kind of accept the fact that they can't always win. Or if they do win, it might come with a cost, right? And I think teaching your players that this is the way things are is going to be much better at your table. And when they do actually smash a group of enemies, it's going to feel a lot more rewarding. You know, rather than having to continue to try and raise the bell curve, eat more and more and more, to a point where, you know, you can actually make your players excited for something that's going on, right? Also, if the players decide that they want to attack the orc camp, then obviously they'll have to deal with all the orcs who are there. If they try and brute force the encounter without any strategy or plan, they'll lose, right? They'll lose, and I find that most players love a challenge and coming up with a way to win. Even if this means, you know, baiting out enemies and ambushing them, you know, group at a time, that's fine. Let your players use their creativity, and I think they'll probably really enjoy it. Most players like to get creative. Most players like to feel like they're smart. Let them feel smart. Let them, not necessarily let them win, but allow these ideas to actually pay off if they do their due diligence and set it up in the right way. For anybody who's still running 5e, and this is changing the subject now, let me give you a great hack for like speeding up your combat, making it more impactful. Just get rid of the con modifier from players and monsters. Every monster stat block has their hit points, right? Their hit points is 2 numbers. It's the hit dice, right, from how many levels they are and whatever. But also it's the con modifier, and it's like a static number, and it depends on the monster. It might be a couple of points, or for a dragon it could be 50 to 100 points of health. Just get rid of that con modifier number, that con, just get rid of it. I'm trying to think of another way to say modifier, but I can't think of one. Just get rid of it. And you're already wondering, well, why? Well, without that buffer to monsters' health, things are a lot quicker. Monsters will get injured quicker, monsters will get bloodied quicker, and monsters will die quicker. Sure, players will too, but that's probably a good thing in 5e. They're bloated as fuck, right? Like, level 10 barbarians got, what, like, 100 health? Like, 80 health? Like, come on, bro. He's doing fine. Even the wizards are doing fine. If you're worried, like, that con's not going to be useful, I mean, traps still use con, exhaustion still uses con, attrition, like being thirsty, being hungry, lots of spells still use con. The cool thing is that, like, I use it in my 5e game. My players are okay with it. They seem to enjoy and appreciate the rule. And what it allows them to do is dump stack con if they want. It means that they don't have to put a decent dice roll, like a 12 or a 14 into con. They can put it into like intelligence or wisdom or charisma into a mental stat that actually makes their character more interesting to play, rather than just, oh, I've got a little bit more health. Oh yeah, I've got a little bit more health, I won't die as quick. But if you get rid of that, then nobody's got that bonus. Nobody's going to be able to soak more damage, and that means that players are actually going to be more creative, right? So it works. It's going to make your character a lot more all-rounded as a player. And that's what I usually tell players when they join my 5e game. I say, yeah, it's gonna really help. But I play a lot more Shadow Dark these days, and Shadow Dark basically does this thing already, so I don't have to really worry. It's really nice to not have to like explain homebrew rules to players and hope that they like it. I think some players are very set in their ways and they just want to do things in a certain way, and if a DM's trying to change that and they don't believe it's a good reason, yeah, you're going to have a lot of difficulty. But yeah, just gets rid of the HP bloat, makes things quicker, and that means that your combats can be a bit more efficient and impactful. Nice and simple. I think a great thing to do with bigger groups is always have the turn order visible, whether you're using VTT or playing IRL. Just get like a whiteboard, write down the turn order, and just have it behind you or on the table or on a stand. You can get like a whiteboard stand, or I don't know, just a couple of pieces of wood. I don't know, bro. Just be creative, right? That's what we've got to do as DMs. And, you know, let players see how things are moving. And if players are being slow on their turns, you can prompt them to do something, right? Or you can just skip their turn if you want. Well, so that does sound a little bit mean, you know, to skipping players' turns. It does usually nip the issue in the bud. If you tell a player, well, you're being slow, so I'm going to skip it to somebody else, they'll probably stop being slow, right? They might get upset about it, they might complain about it, they might get angry about it. But if players are going to get that mad because they don't know whether they want to swing a sword or cast a spell, like, come on, bro, like, learn your character. learn your character. I like to roll dice publicly. I know lots of DMs do it privately, but I just don't see any good reason why to. I don't think fudging dice is fun. and this is a completely different subject, but I believe it makes you a dishonest dungeon master if you fudge dice. I mean, how can you expect your players to be honest with you on like how many spell slots they've got, what they roll on a dice, if you can't be honest with them? You think that because you're a DM, you're above the rules? No, it's a framework, guys, and I think if you want your players to respect you, then you need to be humble. You need to be humble. You need to be honest. If it's just for convenience, while you're rolling behind the DM screen, then fair enough, right? If it's just if a DM screen's up and you just can't be bothered to reach over it and roll dice, yeah, whatever, man. Like, you do you, right? As long as you're not fudging dice, in my opinion, it's not a big deal. But because you are behind that screen, there's always going to be a part of people thinking that maybe you are doing it, right? Because why wouldn't they just roll publicly? I don't like the idea of players dodging dice. Oh, sorry, the dungeon masters fudging dice for me, because it's like the idea of like making a miss into a hit. Like you're punishing me for no reason, just because like you're not rolling very well, or you're throwing me a bone if I'm getting hit too much. No, I want the dice to roll where they do, and if I die, I die. That's a part of the game, you know? This game is all about chance. Why mess with that? I'd love to hear from you guys on what you think of today's video. I know I did shoot from the hip on some of the points. Do you guys agree with what I've said? Do you do things differently? Do you want to tell me off for having a different opinion? Do you? Let me know in the comment section below. Feel free to check out my Patreon, where I've recently uploaded my last Shadowdark one-shot map, including a PDF with the full write-up on how to run it. It's a pretty good adventure. It's got a dragon in it, it's got treasure, it's got some cool-ass magical items, and it's pretty fucking easy to run, honestly. Especially now that you've got the map and you've got the full write-up. I mean, it couldn't be any easier, really. I also have an active Discord where I run one-shots and campaigns and chat with people about D&D and other TTRPGs. It'd be lovely to have you guys there, so feel free to join. Thanks for watching today's video. I'll see you guys next time on Loki's Lair. Until then.